This is CBC Vancouver News.
Where those lights are is on top of my bed, basically.
11 people are taken to hospital after a school bus plows into a house in Burnaby. And
oh my God, I got him. And I got floor seats right at the front.
the ecstasy
My gosh, it's so frustrating.
and the agony. Taylor Swift fans try to get tickets to her 3 Vancouver shows and hope for more pre-sales. Plus, all aboard, or try to. Tickets for the Stanley Park train are already sold out. Good evening, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. The wait to buy coveted tickets for Taylor Swift's 2024 concert dates here in Vancouver is finally over. Online sales for those who were lucky enough to get an elusive pre-sale code began this morning. Our Janella Hamilton was with a diehard Swiftie as she tried to get seats.
Nervous. This is start to kick in. It's like, oh my goodness.
26-year-old Mickey Harris's hand shakes as the clock counts down.
Oh my goodness. One person ahead of you.
The North Vancouver resident enlisted the help of about 40 people to sign up for the pre-sale lottery, describing the process as very intense.
I had my family, my fiance's family, my mom and dad's friends also. I then went to people at work.
Only her fiance's sister received a coveted pre-sale code, giving her a chance to buy tickets with no guarantees.
She's become a cultural moment. So years from now, you're gonna wanna be able to tell your kids, your grandkids that you were there.
Front row and center.
Oh my God, I got him. And I got floor seats right at the front.
But for other diehard fans like Shay Harding's 2 daughters, the competitive process just to get a pre-sale code has been disheartening.
We're very bummed. It's a little disappointing because this would have been, or we were hoping would have been, their first concert that they've ever been to.
Her daughters trying just about anything to boost their odds at getting tickets, manifesting with crystals, candles, and chants.
We just kind of gathered them and grabbed our bracelets and all the Taylor Swift stuff we have.
In the end, the family was waitlisted for Swift's Vancouver show.
So good to be back in Canada.
There is no official number yet on how many people applied for codes, but estimates are it could be more than 20 million. Some experts are pointing a finger at Ticketmaster, saying there are better ways to make sure real fans can see their idols in concert.
The only fair way to do it is to have nominal tickets that are non-transferable, but that you can return. Because if you can transfer it, it means that it invites resale for profit.
However, he says a system like that is more complicated and costly. In the meantime, millions of Swifties are still holding out hope for future pre-sales.
We're still keeping positive that maybe something will work out.
Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
As Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim put it, it's back, it's awesome, and it's sold out. The Vancouver Park Board says 23,000 tickets for the Stanley Park Christmas train were gone in less than 90 minutes today. The board says it normally has 3 trains running, but this year was only able to get 1 used, accounting for the speedy sellout. The popular holiday ride is part of Bright Nights, a fundraiser for the BC Professional Firefighters Burn Fund. It runs from November 30th to January 1st. The train hasn't run in 2 years because of COVID and then mechanical issues. Well, 11 teenagers were taken to hospital today after a school bus smashed into a house in Burnaby. The RCMP says a sedan traveling west on Canada Way collided with the bus as it pulled out of 16th Avenue. The bus then jumped the curb and, as you can see, broke through the walls of the house. Police say all of the teens have been released from hospital and the driver wasn't hurt. The man who lives inside that home, though, says it was a bit close.
That's my bedroom. The living room's behind that. So the TV was against that window wall there. It went flying into the living room. And my bed, literally where those lights are, is on top of my bed, basically.
That's scary.
It's very scary. Because if I was there, I literally would have been dead.
Police say impairment has been ruled out as a cause. They're now looking for dash cam and other video. Air Canada is now apologizing to passengers with disabilities after a string of high-profile and sometimes disturbing incidents, including a BC passenger forced to drag himself off a plane. Those complaints prompted Ottawa to demand explanations. Ashley Burke now on the airline's new promise to do better.
Ryan LeChance says he felt dehumanized and humiliated after Air Canada staff dropped him in the aisle.
They treat us like we're cargo, and they just whipped us off on the plane the same way they did the luggage.
Now a public apology.
The situation that some of our customers experienced is completely unacceptable, and we have let them down.
Federal ministers summoned the airline to Ottawa after a series of CBC News stories about the treatment of passengers who use wheelchairs.
Not only do airlines, need to be held accountable, they need to a lot better.
A Marketplace hidden camera investigation captured Air Canada workers struggling to get Alessia DiVirgilio on board a plane.
Please, guys,
I felt humiliated.
In another story, passenger Rodney Hodgkins said he had to crawl down the aisle.
I'm just wondering what you personally think of hearing a story of someone having to drag themselves across an aircraft to get off.
I think my personal view reflects the view of everybody at Air Canada that it's not acceptable.
Air Canada said it's speeding ahead with changes.
We are investing in training for all of our colleagues that are involved with lifting customers into chairs on board aircraft, and also investing in even more equipment.
It also says passengers with accessibility needs will board first, and wheelchairs will be stored in the cabin when possible. Some say they'll believe it when they see it.
When I show up on a plane and I don't have to hold my breath, I'm wondering if I'm going to get dropped or my wheelchair is going to get damaged. I'll feel a lot better.
Disability advocate Mayan Ziv hopes it's the beginning of much more.
I think that Air Canada has violated the trust of disabled passengers, and it's going to take a lot more than promises and statements to prove that they can earn our loyalty as passengers.
Ashley Burke reporting. Now, making travel accessible and barrier-free means asking people with disabilities what they want and need. One BC travel agent is pushing for a seat at the table.
I'd like to see all the airlines meet with the Minister of Transportation. I'd like to see, personally, a committee established of the shareholders, like the people who have disabilities, not able-bodied people making the decisions for us.
He also urges passengers with disabilities to prepare for the unexpected and do their research before booking a flight. The BC government is hiring 271 ambulance paramedics to try to improve emergency response in 60 rural and remote communities.
Paramedics will no longer be required to work or be available to work for 72 straight hours. There will be better shifts that will allow paramedics to have a work and life balance and will help better ensure all communities are covered, especially in the evenings.
The province says the hires will boost equitable access to health care and provide better compensation and working environments for those paramedics. Gabriola Island, Gold River, Quadra Island, and Boston Bar are among the communities getting extra staff. Still with health care, the BC Conservative Party held a rally at the legislature today against mandatory COVID vaccinations for healthcare workers. This after Conservative MLA Bruce Banman called for Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry to be fired. Adrian Dix says no.
This pander fest that we see on these issues is not appropriate. The best way to summarize my views comes from Dr. Henry herself. We need to be kind and be calm and be safe.
Bill 36 gives the province increased power to govern healthcare workers in all sectors, including requiring that they be vaccinated against COVID-19. As we told you last night, the deputy leader of the BC Green Party has been punted for liking an online post comparing Dr. Henry to a Nazi physician. Dr. Sanjeev Gandhi says he's sorry, claiming he inadvertently liked the tweet. Road repairs for an overpass over Highway 99 in Delta have now been pushed to next year. Work on the Highway 17A overpass was supposed to start this week, but the Transportation Ministry has now changed the plan after hearing concerns about the impact to traffic over the holidays. The overpass was badly damaged in July when an overheight vehicle smashed into it. Repairs will now start in January and are set to wrap up by April. Poppies have been appearing on lapels since the start of this month as Canadians prepare for Remembrance Day. The CBC's Arthi Thayaparan asked Vancouverites why they wear the blooms.
Regardless of if you support war or not, there's still human people that went there and did something for freedom and for rights for Canadian people. And so I wear poppies to kind of honor that sacrifice and also the people I know who are veterans and who have worked and suffered for different reasons.
The reason I'm wearing a poppy is for Remembrance Day, to remember the fallen, the veterans that served our country. My father was in the Army, so in World War II, so yeah, it does mean something.
Remembrance in a few days, and we want to celebrate, well, not celebrate, but honor the soldiers that died for our country.
Just to remember the soldiers. I think it's important for her to know, being so young, that she needs to carry that on into the future.
Just remembrance, right?
To not forget.
It was a big sacrifice those guys made.
It's just a symbol of, remembrance, and even also with the fallen, quite a lot of unfortunate, people who are really honorable, and even also just who gave a lot for this country, has now been long gone, and we sort of remember them for the poppy. That's why I'm wearing it.
My grandfather was in both World Wars. If it wasn't for those guys, we wouldn't have this country we have today.
South Asian communities in BC are preparing for Diwali this weekend, the Festival of Lights. Our Sarab Sandhu has more.
Volunteers at Coquitlam's Evergreen Cultural Centre are hard at work making rangoli, an intricate floor decoration that has become synonymous with Diwali celebrations around the world. This year, the bright colors have been replaced by pastels.
We make sure that we use eco-friendly products, so it's not harmful for the kids.
But there are plenty of colors in everything else around this event, from traditional Indian clothing to decor and lights, and plenty of colorful performances. The event has been put by Diwali Fest, an organization leading the community Diwali celebrations in Vancouver for the past 20 years.
We often see families with grandparents and young children coming in, and they're just so excited and happy, to be here, to have something to go to and celebrate in a meaningful way. There's such a huge demand for Diwali festivities. We have expanded to Surrey, Coquitlam, Burnaby. This year we have done events in Richmond in the past. So, through different partnerships and collaborations.
The events run in the days leading up to Diwali, and this year provided a platform to over 200 local and emerging artists. For the Fest 20-year milestone, organizers chose a wedding theme.
This year we wanted to do something different, something vibrant, colorful, fun, festive that would really engage the audiences and give them a chance to experience South Asian culture and the beauty of the celebrations that go around it.
The event also attracts people who are new to Diwali and looking to learn more about the festival.
People are not aware about what is the traditional art, what is the rangoli about, and what is the henna work. You can see the henna work and other stuff.
We have so much diversity, so much richness that we can enjoy right on our doorsteps, on our neighborhood.
This weekend will be a busy one as families and friends gather to celebrate the day of Diwali on Sunday. And due to popular demand, Diwali Fest will hold another event the following weekend. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Coquitlam.
Wow, that's very. Decades later, what's changed? We're going to look at homelessness in Vancouver in the late 80s up to now. Stick around. Hello to everyone watching our commercial-free live stream. Thanks for being here. A New Brunswick man is telling the story of his father's experience as a World War I horse transport driver. He wants to highlight the contributions of unsung heroes.
This picture was taken in 1916 at the station in Sackville, New Brunswick. That would have been taken when my father signed up and left Moncton to go to Sackville, where they did their first training in 1916. When he got over there, he was transferred to the 26th Battalion, which was out of St. John. They were called the Fighting 26 because they were pretty hardy bunch, but they were also known as a suicide battalion because they had the machine gun corps in with them, and the machine gunners were a prime target for the enemy, because you wipe out the machine gun nest, you save a lot of lives. And the horses are part of the hidden heroes of the logistics of the Canadian Armed Forces. So they're not a fighting force, but often they're in the very aim of fire. They're in the danger areas, as my father was, driving horses up to the front line with ammunition. It couldn't be any more dangerous. Horses were big targets. He loved horses from being on the farm, or he volunteered actually to drive horses with ammunition and supplies up to the front line, mainly to the machine gun nest. And the conditions that the horses were in was absolutely terrible. Quite often they would be up to their waists in mud. The horses were important because other vehicles could not travel through the terrain that was beaten up so badly by bombs and so on, shell holes. The compass is the one that Dad used in the First World War. You can see that it has seen some action. There's some spots on it and so on. And he had to use this because a lot of the territory it was in was not very clearly marked. So you're looking at 107 years or so old. This is the real thing. This is my father's handwriting. So this is my 10 days in Passchendaele. And here he says mostly horse, because that's what he did, horses. The fields, buildings, roads, etc., for the last 3 or 4 miles on our way in have been pretty well demolished. The famous Cloth Hall of Ypres is about completely ruined, and the town is almost flat, with only a few of the church towers and Cloth Hall showing above the mud holes. It feels like we're very lucky to live the way we do. We will never know what he experienced, ever. We won't know it. Even modern warfare is different than it was back then. They were in the trenches for 2 years. Mud, water, rats, lice, everything. It was terrible. But we have to know what's going on. We have to remember, and we have to pay attention. And it's not just to honor.
It is Throwback Thursday when we dive into our vast archives. Homelessness is a grim reality and a serious issue for all levels of government. But it didn't become a social crisis in North America until after the 1980s. This story is from 1986.
These two fellows spent the night under a bridge abutment near Main Street in the East End. They stayed dry, covered with old blankets and sleeping bags. A civic worker woke them up at daybreak, and they were on their way.
What we're hoping to do is to find out just how large a problem we have in Vancouver.
Now, we're talking about hardcore individuals that are outside almost all of the time, are we not?
That's how, in this survey, we've defined it. Homeless meaning people who sleep in the park, sleep in Smith Rights, sleep in alleyways, and that they have no shelter.
1987 has been designated the year of the homeless in Canada and the U.S. During the first stage of his search, Ralph Buckley has found 59 people without any accommodation, 52 men and 7 women.
They may be out of money for, because they're unemployed. They may be out of money because, they run out of welfare, and that I think you'd almost have to take it, case by case.
We found 6 people this morning, most of them under bridges. None of them would talk to us. A number of social agencies come in contact with the homeless. Diane McDonald, who works at a detox center, says many only ask for help when they're desperate.
So a lot of these people choose to live this way. They don't want to have a permanent home. They have ended up homeless because of in many cases, their substance abuse problem. They've been asked to leave their residences, or they have spent all their money on alcohol or drugs, and so have found themselves homeless, and a certain percentage like living on the streets or in the parks or under the bridges.
Many homeless people spend their days in places like the Dugout on Powell Street or rooms in the First United Church on Main. They can get hot food and warm up. Reverend Barry Morris says most of these people have just given up.
What's difficult is for people who have, in a sense, run out of their luck or have had so many doors closed in their face that they've developed a hostile reaction themselves to help that's available or resources that are available.
Few of us will ever have to live like this. Most people couldn't. A cement viaduct over our heads for a roof, a garbage-strewn area for a floor. But for some of the street people of Vancouver, it's the only thing that they know. Bob Gillingham, CBC News.
The minister you saw in that story joins us now. Do you have any hope around this situation?
Well, it goes up and down. I mean, I take the realities, two sides of the same coin, perhaps, of hope and despair very seriously. I've come to feel that hope is a relative term, not an absolute, like you might say love is, or justice might be. But hope needs help. It's a relative term, so it needs relative, so to speak. The First Nations term, all my relations, when prayer is said or a blessing is said, hope needs help from all different levels. And if a person's not entrenched, that was a term that the late John Turvey used, who worked a lot with street youth. If a person's not entrenched, like habituated virtually to that reality of being homeless and that sometimes merciless and almost, you might want to say, addictive merry-go-round, then there are chances for change.
There's a live shot of Canby Street in Vancouver City Hall. Darius has your BC-wide forecast after this.
Really, any pump track is fun, but this one is really special.
Cale Dutt's dream of having a pump track in Sydney has finally come true. 2 years ago, when he was just 9 years old, Dutt tested out a pump track in Dartmouth, and he quickly fell in love.
At the beginning, it was just like, I would like this to be here, but I didn't think it would get this far. But now seeing that this is here, it's really nice that a lot of people can enjoy this.
Pump tracks feature moguls and ramps that are strategically placed to generate speed. To get more people behind his idea, Dutt handed out flyers and met with local politicians. And in June, the CBRM awarded a $300,000 tender for the track's design and construction, with the federal government chipping in money for the project.
Earlier when I just got here, someone told me that his kids love it here and they ask him right after school to come here, and it's really special that so many people can help make this a happy place for little kids.
Corey Moore of Howie Centre began biking when he was about 5 years old. He eventually followed his passion to Europe, where he was building mountain bike parks.
Part of the reason why I left was the lack of things like this. So like it keeps the youth here, right? It's fun, it's good family fun, it's for the community, it's free to use, and we see this stuff on TV all over the world, and we want it here too. Let's go for it.
Moore has already tried the Sydney pump track and says the outdoor facility should draw more people to the local area.
This is a great thing. Nobody, you hear a lot of the people moving out west and moving here and there. It's not necessarily for the jobs. It's for the things that keep the kids active and having fun.
The track was built on the former Neville Park soccer field in Whitney Pier. Dutt hopes that people young and old will enjoy it as a place to have fun and get some exercise. Erin Potty, CBC News, Sydney.
I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
On December 7th, join CBC Vancouver's Dan Burritt at the Alumni UBC webinar, Finding Joy in Climate Action. Experts will discuss what climate actions we can take that could also impact our well-being. And enjoy the seasonal celebration of quiet reflection and jubilant hope with Christmas with Corleone on December 15th, 16th, and 18th. Tickets at corleone.org.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Our BC-wide weather forecast with Darius Madabi, who has an update on drought, as well as a very dry October.
Yes, so we've been having these drought updates every Thursday for the last few months now. You can see we have had some slight improvement in the south and the coast and in the interior. Haida Gwaii moved up one drought level. It's not too much change, but I think we might be getting a little bit accustomed to seeing this drought map, how bad it is, especially in the northeast and the central interior. And if we take a look at where we were in 2021 at the end of October, which was the last update that year, you can see this is where we'd usually be this time of year. That's a very normal drought situation compared to what we have now, what we're getting used to. It's very much out of the ordinary. Now, this does come on the heels of quite a hot and dry October here in Vancouver. The only thing was we had a cold snap right at the end of the month, which meant that when we were on track to have potentially a record-breaking hot October, we actually, that sort of took us off course. But around the world, that was not the case. And we did break the record. You can see the anomaly incredibly way higher, I say way much higher, that doesn't make sense, way higher than we have seen in past Octobers. And if you take a look at this past year, and this line here, the anomalies have been incredibly high ever since June of this year. We've been breaking records left and right, even compared to 2016, the El Nino year that was the previous record holder. Now, we are definitely on track for the hottest year ever recorded, even if that's not going to be the case here, where we have had a return to seasonal temperatures. And if we do take a look at BC, you can see we have had a wind warning move south from Haida Gwaii and the north coast down to the central coast and the northern part of the island. Expect high winds there tomorrow afternoon, up to 90 kilometers per hour. Some models predicting over 100 kilometers per hour gusts, so be on the lookout for that. And if we take a look at our rain, you can see it is making, the next system will be making its way into Vancouver by tomorrow, hitting the north coast first and then traveling down. So the island should expect that rain to start by noon or just in the early afternoon tomorrow. Expect another wet one on the coast. Some of that rain making its way into the interior, but most of it will be falling as flurries because we do have some cool temperatures in parts of the interior. So be ready, especially higher elevations, for some snow, even on mountain passes. Now, you can see here that snow building in across the interior. We do have quite a buildup in many places, but the real headline in terms of rain is on the coast. Despite those mountain peaks getting quite a bit of snow, here is where we see the real buildup. So up to 70 millimeters in Tofino, but a lot of that rain has already fallen just in the last few hours. So expect that to be even higher when we do take a look back at the end of this week or at the beginning of next week. Now, if we do take a look at our forecast for tomorrow, you can see that rain up and down the coast and those mostly sunny skies in the interior as that ridge continues to move further east, but some snow making its way into the southeast especially. And if we zoom in to here in Vancouver, we can see still a fairly consistent forecast. Probably going to see some sun tomorrow, at least in the morning. Looks at least possible. And then we do have that rain continue right through the end of the week and the beginning of next week. There we go.
There we go. Thanks very much, Darius.
Thanks, Dan.
And that's your late news for Thursday. Thank you for joining us. For news at any hour, check our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. It begins tomorrow morning at 5:30. Janella Hamilton will be your host here tomorrow night at 6 and at 11. I will see you next Wednesday. Good night.